I regret my vote for Donald Trump, and I'm ready to talk about it. When I voted for Donald Trump, I was told that I would lose my rights. I thought that I wouldn't have the right to drive. I thought that somebody would have to be driving me around everywhere. It's not the case. I still have to drive wherever I want to go. That's on me. I was told that it was going to become a communist country. We were going to be told what to wear, how to do our hair, but that didn't happen. I still wake up every day and decide how I want to do my hair. I have to do it. I have to find an outfit every day, which is really time consuming. It's not at all what I was expecting. I thought that that was all going to end. I also thought that I was going to get deported. Even though I was born here in the United States of America, I was told that I would certainly be deported. I'm not sure where, but I was hoping it would be some sort of island or somewhere relaxing. Now, I will say I do love my country, so I am not super upset that I'm still here, but all of these things were things that I considered before voting for him. None of those things have happened. I still have all of my rights, and my life is business as usual. In fact, it does feel good to have a little common sense in the air with him as president now, but these are all the things that I thought that I was voting for that I didn't get. And here it is.
First 100 days, what was the best day out of all of them?
Oh, the first day. Woohoo! First day.
He said he was going to make America great again, lower prices.
He is. I don't care. Lower prices. Biden, he messed them up for 4 years. It can't take one day. People need to understand that. Prices are going to take a while. I might lose my job because I'm in a federal. I get it. I don't care.
Wait, you might lose your job in the federal job?
Yep.
Really?
We're funding from a school district.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And you're okay with that, with the cuts?
If it's for my grandchildren and children, I know it's not going to affect me, but it's going to affect their life, and that's what I care about.
So you work in a school that could lose federal funding, and if you lose your job because that federal funding is gone, you'd be okay with it?
I would. Yes, I would, for the greater good, for America. He's making America great again. He's doing the right thing.
You see, this is exactly why we say you guys are in a cult. This woman has zero awareness, zero critical thinking skills, and she's a teacher, for fuck's sake. Can you imagine praising billionaires that are taking away your livelihood? And you're telling me you're not brainwashed?
I mean, 2 weeks. I'm done. You want to talk about regretting your vote?
I never thought I'd say that, but I regret my vote. I voted for Trump.
I voted for Trump, and I regret it now.
As a Hispanic, I voted for Donald J. Trump. Dude, I regret it so much, man.
I'm regretting my vote for Donald Trump.
I voted for Donald Trump, and now I regret it.
A lot of people who were like me voted for Trump and have to account for that.
I regret voting for Trump.
So deeply regret my vote for Donald Trump.
I regret voting for Trump.
I was a dumbass, voted for Trump. It was the worst decision I ever made.
I've seen the light, and I got out of MAGA. A lot of us there have seen the light. We have deep regrets.
I feel guilty because I voted for Trump twice. I feel very guilty because I feel responsible. That's why he's still running.
I was with Trump for 9 straight years. I'm disappointed. I'm very disappointed in Trump right now.
Okay, why'd you vote for Donald Trump?
Well, to be honest, I wanted no tax on overtime, but I'm starting to regret my decision because I think it's a lie now.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
Do you honestly think that's going to happen?
I don't.
Yeah, that's my opinion about that. So, I don't know. I really don't know much about politics, but yeah, I just like to say I enjoy your show and I learn a lot from you.
I appreciate you. One thing I would say is, like, make sure someone has a reputable character. Donald Trump has, like, the least reputable character. I was pretty certain he was lying about that from the very beginning. It sounded like he was just giving off, like, he was literally, like, doing the Republican meme. You know, Republicans are always like, Democrats want to give out free money. Like, that's literally what Donald Trump was doing. Like, they're literally just lying. He was, like, lying about giving out free money.
Yeah, you're right.
The movement is taking hold for some people, and these are their voices. Stephanie M. Messina became a Christian nationalist in 2014, only a few years after she began her career as a pediatric respiratory therapist.
We were watching his addresses, and contrary to everything that I had been taught, being a trained respiratory therapist and working in one of the finest institutions in the country, I wasn't masking, and I was falling in line with all of these anti-science ideas.
Now, as a mom to 5 boys, Messina sees that a slippery slope led her into the Make America Great Again movement.
It isn't about Christianity, it's about control. MAGA is not about Jesus. I did 3 years of really hard work because I knew I needed to change. I knew that my wounds from my childhood, the Christian right, Christian by name only, by the way. Christian nationalism, I will say it all day long, is Christian in name only. In name only.
Rich Logis considered himself a true MAGA supporter, but after the Republican response to the mass shooting at an elementary school in Uvalde, Texas, he decided enough was enough.
When I was in the MAGA community myself, we had a fantasy of killing the Republican Party and making it a MAGA party. And I think it is safe to say that that fantasy is now a reality and that the GOP, whatever it was before 2015, no longer exists.
Since then, Logis set up a community for those who have left MAGA or those afraid to leave. He connected with Stefania Messina after she posted about her departure on social media. They've been working together since.
MAGA is as addictive as nicotine. A lot of, well-meaning people on the left will say it's so pathetic that MAGA people don't wake up until something terrible happens to them. And I'm like, but it's so very human. It's so very human to need a wake-up call.
I've learned a lot about how much bravery it takes for someone to acknowledge publicly that they made a mistake, that they were wrong, that they acknowledge those errors, and that they want to make amends for any statements, actions, or rhetoric that may have harmed others.
The Leaving MAGA movement is taking...
America, the fun and games is over. Now, this is a really hard video for me to make. We've gone beyond now Trump this, MAGA that, Republican this, Biden that, left, right, Republican, Democrat, whatever. Shit's about to get real. You've seen my videos. I've been posting for a couple of months now. I, on the one hand, don't really want to be scaremongering. Sometimes people come on and they say, yes, we know. And then, of course, a lot of you come on and say, thank you so much for pointing these things out. If you live in America, I think you need to be worried. This is not a parody account. This is not, I'm trying to be serious here without being alarming. But we are now towards the end of April 2025. But the fact is, the big orange buffoon with the small hands, the tiny hands, your great leader, I don't think you understand what he has done to the economy, what is about to happen to the United States. With these tariffs, with China no longer sending a single ship to US ports. The last one, I believe, is due to be in the East Coast on the 11th of May. But after that, there will not be a single ship coming from China to the US with a single shoe, bag of wheat, iPhone, whatever it is you buy from China, clothing, and above all the components that companies in the US rely on. I'm hearing that dock workers are being laid off because there's no ships to unload and load. I'm hearing that truckers are being laid off because, well, there's nothing in the ports, so there's nothing to truck. I'm hearing that places like Las Vegas, which live off tourism, are now on the quiet, getting rid of staff, saying you'll let go because, frankly, there's no more tourists welcome to the US. But the most worrying videos I've seen, and I'm saying this simply as an awareness thing, that better that you hear it now and have the time to weigh up your options rather than hear it later and go, why didn't anyone tell me? Again, I'm not trying to be fear-mongering, but it's certainly better to have heard something and have time to evaluate and make your own decision rather than for something to come as a complete surprise. Basically, the talk is of shelves emptying, and that is some serious shit. We are talking potentially the US economy grinding to an absolute halt like has not been seen in at least 2 centuries by July 4th. We're talking people losing their jobs, people losing their homes, people not having food, and God knows what else. Now again, I'm trying to stay calm and not be alarmist in this video, but the things I've seen in the last few days, frankly, are alarming. At least I am concerned for the people in the US right now who perhaps are not aware of the potential for what is going to happen in May, June, and July of 2025. All I can say is do what you can, protect yourself the best way you can, and perhaps, maybe, just maybe, even if it's crazy, buy a little extra food, a little extra toilet paper, a little extra what you need. Because I remember during COVID here in Europe, the food gone from the shelves. You couldn't buy solar panels. You couldn't buy battery storage. You couldn't buy wind-up radios. It was difficult to get cash out of the machine. And thankfully, they weren't needed. And yes, some of us were a little bit crazy. But I believe there's an old saying, it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. Please stay safe. Thank you for following, and see you in the next video.
They are alive. Yeah. They killed them here.
It's not just in the settlements and the countryside that crime is rising. In South Africa's great cities, Johannesburg, Cape Town, Durban and Pretoria, there's a crime wave too. Armed robberies of security vans, home invasions, street muggings. According to the internationally respected Institute for Security Studies in Pretoria, armed attacks have increased 40% since 2012.
We have a real problem with violence and expressed in various different ways. And so for us, sitting in South Africa, looking at these 19,000 murders, looking at trying to get a sense of where it's taking place, the various complex factors that result into it, this growth in armed attacks, the gangs involved in cash in transit heists. And then suddenly there's this international tension on the murders of white farmers. It just sort of seems completely disproportionate. It's not that it isn't a problem. And of course, for the victims, it's terribly traumatic. But it's not the biggest challenge facing South Africa.
Is there any evidence for the claim that's often made that the farm attacks in particular are politically driven, that they're part of some organised campaign to drive the whites from the land?
There's no credible evidence that the attacks against white farmers is organised or politically driven. There is evidence that the attacks on white farmers in South Africa are largely driven by criminal intent, greed.
But AfriForum's Ernst Roots says it's too simplistic to claim that the farm attackers have only one motive.
Certainly robbery plays a role and the intention to steal plays a role, but certainly there's enough evidence that racism plays a big role and there's enough evidence that political influences play a big role. There are reported cases where the murderers themselves have said that they were influenced by politics in the committing of these crimes. And secondly, even more concerning than that, is the political climate in South Africa.
That climate is heating up, the white farmers say. And one cause is the rise of a new political party, the Economic Freedom Fighters, or EFF. I've come to one of their rallies in Northwest Province, where the mood, to me, seems far from hostile.
Job, opportunities for varsity, and for everything. I love EFF with my whole life.
The red berets and T-shirts are a clear enough statement. This is an old-fashioned communist party. Its policy is to nationalise all land in South Africa and redistribute it to the poor and needy.
Amanda!
The EFF's self-styled commander-in-chief is Julius Malema, a former leader of the ruling African National Congress's Youth League.
We are not going to accept that the poor of the poor must be excluded from education because they do not have money.
Expelled from the ANC in 2012, he started his own rival party and promises the world to his followers.
Education is a right. All of us must have access to education.
But there's a dark side to Julius Malema's populism. He sets race against race with a recklessness that shocks the political establishment. At this rally, he takes aim at the Indian middle class.
Majority of Indians hate Africans. Majority of Indians are racist.
But his favorite target is the white landowner. He urges his followers to take back what was stolen from them.
The white minority which took our land by force. You must say enough is enough. We are taking the future into our own hands.
At the end of almost every speech, he sings an old ANC war song, Kill the Boer, although that particular phrase has been banned as hate speech.
Shoot to kill, kill our, shoot to kill, Yamaza, pa, 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 tension.
For all his blatant racial dog whistling, Malema has proved to be a shrewd political operator.
There's nothing you can do, there's nothing this parliament can do. With or without you, people are going to occupy land.
It was the EFF in Parliament who proposed a motion in favour of expropriating land without compensation, a move that the ANC, led by new state president Cyril Ramaphosa, had little choice but to support.
Honorable Ntlangwini, Honorable Gadi, Honorable Mhlongo.
So far, the ANC has not seized any farmland without paying market price. But when I caught up with the ANC spokesman on land reform, Ronald Lamola, at a fancy conference centre outside Pretoria, he made it clear that it soon will.
There will be expropriation of some of the white-owned farmlands. There will be expropriation of land that government needs to for roads or for residential purposes.
It's unfair to do this to help for your sister. For your sister, we are old age. We are people that battling. So you do not see that. You not. You will walk past by it. But we battle. I battle for all my friends. Black or white today. I must wait like a dog in this place. It's not right.
When it comes to votes,
yes,
they go to the houses. And then they say the tokens must sit at their houses. But now, where they're supposed to service people, they do not do that. And then that's why...
then they got cars, then they got buckets.
They've got everything. And then I wonder why they do not send the field workers to help those people, even the disabled here. You can see for yourself. And then I wonder why the government is doing this to us.
Like animals.
They are treating us like an animals.
Own concern because those people who are being enticed to go to the United States do not fit the definition of a refugee. A refugee is someone who has to leave their country out of fear of political persecution, religious persecution, or economic persecution. And
that's what the United States says they're undergoing in South Africa. That's why they've opened the door for them.
Yes, and they don't fit that bill. They don't fit that description. And I had a conversation with President Trump on the phone, and he said, what's happening down there? And I said, President, what you've been told by those people who are opposed to transformation back home in South Africa is not true. And I added to him, I said, we were well taught by Nelson Mandela and other iconic leaders like Oliver Tambo on how to continue to build a united nation out of the diverse groupings that we have in South Africa. We're the only country on the continent where the colonizers came to stay, and we have never driven them out of our country. So they are staying, and they're making great progress. It's a fringe grouping that does not have a lot of support, that is anti-transformation and anti-change, that would actually prefer to see South Africa going back to apartheid type of policies. And I said to him, I would never do that. I learned at the feet of Nelson Mandela, and we intend to proceed with the implementation of our constitutional architecture. And I thought in my conversation with him early in the morning at 4 o'clock South African time, he understood that. And I said, I'd like to come and meet him so that we can discuss this matter further. So those people who have fled are not being persecuted. They are not being, hounded. They are not being treated badly. And they are leaving ostensibly because they don't want to embrace the changes that are taking place in our country in accordance with our constitution. So we think that the American government has got the wrong end of the stick here, but we'll continue talking to them.
So a face-to-face meeting is coming up. Is Elon Musk invited when you have that face-to-face meeting?
Well, I don't know. They will.
Just right now, a former Biden staff member is under fire right now because she just went on TV saying that she supports white farmers in South Africa, land getting stolen. Take a look.
Part of that is that the people who are native to that land deserve their rightful land back. That is not what the Afrikaners actually want to have happen, which are the white Africans, and so who are not originally from Africa, who colonized South Africa also. And so that is what they are saying is discrimination. Now, if the Constitution in South Africa is discriminatory, they have their checks and balances in that land, just like we do. And so if the Afrikaners don't actually like the land, they can leave that country.
They are. They're leaving to come here.
No.
These refugees are coming here.
They can actually leave and go to where their native land is, which is probably Germany.
Now, this right here is probably a crazy take. If you're not familiar with the situation, a lot of South African refugees just came in America. There's a whole problem going in South Africa. I could make a whole video about that, but that would take forever. I'm curious at what you think about this point right here. Crazy take in my opinion, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts down below.